Sorry for the delay, but Ken's telling me what to do. It's an honor to have you here. Pat surely knows how to pack the house on a weekday, so it's good to be together to celebrate her life and her memory and her spirit. So our call to worship today is with Mike and Kathy in this very room, which we've done lots of things in this very room for the past 46 years. So welcome, it's good to be together.
Enough joy for all of us, and there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Jesus, Lord Jesus, in this very room, and in this very room, there's quite enough love for all the world, and in this very room, there's quite enough joy for all the world, and there's quite enough hope and quite enough power to chase away any gloom. For Jesus, Lord Jesus, is in this very room.
That was beautiful. Thank you to Kathy and Mike. For everything there is a season, and there is a time for every matter under heaven. There's a time to be born and a time to die. There's a time to plant and a time to pluck up what is planted. There's a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh, and a time to mourn and a time to dance. There's a time to embrace and a time not to embrace, a time to find things, a time to lose things, a time to keep and a time to throw away. There's a time to tear, a time to mend, a time for silence and a time for speech, a time to love and a time to hate, and a time for war and a time for peace. And a time like today to honor a very special lady and a life well lived. Our opening next song is Here I Am, Lord. It's in the red book. It's either under your chair or in front of you. It's number 574. 574, Here I Am, Lord. It's really nice to do a funeral where people actually sing. It's really, really nice. Thank you, Pat. The Lord is my shepherd, and I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, and he leadeth me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for thou art with me, and thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. And from the book of Timothy, the hour has come. The time is now here for me to leave this life. I have done my very best in the race. I have run the full distance, and I have kept the faith. And now there is waiting for me that victory prize of being with God, which the Lord, the righteous judge, will give me on that day. But not just to me, but to all those who wait with love for him to come again. Amen. It's reflection time. We're going to start with the trifecta. And then there'll be Debbie, and then there'll be Mark. So I'll step back and turn it over to all of you.
My name is Mariana Reed. Can you hear me? Okay. I'd like to tell you about my friend Pat. As some of you know, Pat and I taught second grade together at Fierk School in Oak Forest for many years. She started out as a colleague and became a very close friend. Over the years of our careers, Pat and I took a number of summer classes together to improve our instructional skills and become better teachers, all the while becoming better friends. The more we learned about teaching, the more we realized that our own individual styles, though very different, really did complement each other in the classroom. We earned our master's degree together. Her encouragement and insight helped me to get through the many projects that we were assigned. But we had fun too. A favorite memory from that time was when we took a trip to Florida to work on our final project, where we also managed to soak up some sun. I remember how proud we felt standing side by side in our caps and gowns on graduation day. Reed and Rice were a team, and around school we were affectionately known as R&R. Always supportive and encouraging, Pat was good at coming up with ways to liven up the school day. She brought the fun to school. Pat loved her students, and they loved her. That was never more apparent than on her annual Halloween tradition of dressing up and acting the part all day of Miss Viola Swamp, that scary-looking and strict substitute teacher from the beloved children's book, Miss Nelson is Missing. Pat was a loyal member of our long-standing carpool, which included Valerie Danick, our buddy and first grade teacher there at Fierk. As we drove to and from Frankfurt each day, we attempted to solve the problems of the world, as well as whatever issues that were getting our attention at home or at school. We shared our joys and our fears, and Pat could always be counted on to see the humor in most every situation. As time went on, our little carpool eventually came to be known as the Menopause-mobile. Thankfully, we remained close in retirement and had many good times and adventures together in what we called the golden years. Pat was always interested in what I was doing and how my family was. Even in recent years, as her health was failing, Pat kept her sense of humor and her positive outlook. She faced her challenges with grace and determination, never looking for sympathy, showing up and putting on a brave face even on her worst days. I considered Pat my best friend, but she had many close friends. She gave her time and attention to anyone who needed it. She was just that kind of person. In recent years, our close circle of friends has grown smaller, and Pat's loss has hit us all hard, but we continue to lean on each other as she would have wanted. I believe that when through one woman, a little more love and goodness, a little more light and truth comes into the world, then that woman's life has meaning. Pat's spirit of warmth and love lives on in all of our hearts. For those of us who loved her, that will never change.
Hello, my name is Susan Van Berg. I'm a member of All Saints and a dear friend of Pat's, and I'm honored to be part of our gathering in the celebration of Pat's life and legacy. She emphasized the word celebration to Ken many times. I've been blessed to know Pat for over 40 years as a fellow teacher at Fairk Elementary and as a dear friend. Among my fond memories was witnessing Pat's gift of finding and nurturing a special talent in each of her students, whether it was art, music, drama, or academics. She loved hearing of former students' success in school and later out in the real world. After retiring in 2005, we had time to share varied interests, one of which was reading. Pat enjoyed a wide variety of books, from historical novels to her Danielle Steele favorites. There's one over on the rocker, maybe. Plus, throw in a Hallmark movie and she was all set for the day. After Jim and I moved to Frankfurt, we grew closer to Pat and Ken, and along with a few couples, we began the tradition of meeting weekly for coffee and conversation, sharing our friendships and support as Pat faced her physical challenges. We always enjoyed seeing her latest boutique outfits with cute shoes to match and sparkles optional. Despite her physical limitations, Pat continued to be upbeat, always open to new experiences and seeing the humor in everyday events. As Marianne so beautifully stated, our circle of friends has shared decades of support, love, joy, loss, and faith, losing several friends while welcoming new ones, and many of them are here today. Pat loved sharing her faith and love for All Saints Lutheran Church. She is the reason our family visited and joined All Saints so many years ago. We felt at home immediately and are blessed to be here. I treasure the chats we had reminiscing about our Lutheran upbringing. She found out I was a Lutheran pastor's kid, so that made me top of her list. We shared Sunday school memories, Luther League memories, and our favorite hymns, Stand Up for Jesus, and Onward Christian Soldiers were a few of our common favorites. Pat lovingly cared for the children's bookshelf and church library with her special seasonal decor, only thanks to Ken's help and the little ladder. She labeled each shelf with topics, authors, and themes. We have quite a variety of books, and I hope people have time to stop by there after the service, but there was one section that has become very special, the inspirational shelf, which has been a faithful resource and comfort to Ken and many others, and he's passed a few books on to me to read. One of the books is The Stranger in the Lifeboat by Mitch Albom, which I quote, "When someone passes, people always ask, why did God take them? A better question would be, what did we do to deserve their love, their joy, the sweet moments we shared? Those moments are a gift, and we are so thankful for the gift of knowing Pat." Another book on our shelf is A Glimpse of Heaven, in which we're reminded that eternity is real and that Christ is waiting to welcome you into heaven. This message became so meaningful when Pat was transferred to Lighthouse Hospice in Joliet. We visited the next day and were grateful that Pat was finally resting comfortably. I was holding Pat's hand, both of us taking in the quiet moment, when she turned to me and said, "It's so beautiful here." I squeezed her hand in reply and only later realized that she was having her own glimpse of heaven. Her own glimpse of heaven. Pat passed away 2 days later, surrounded by her loving family. The new rocker dedicated to Pat has the inscription, "She rocked the library with love. I speak for our many friends sitting right here and those that couldn't be here when we say that she rocked our lives with love.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Gorman, and I also taught with Pat for many years. And I'm humbled to be here today because she had asked me to speak. Today we do celebrate the incredible life of Pat Rice, and to remember how she touched each of our lives with her humor and her grace. To quote Winnie the Pooh, "A friend is someone who helps you when you're down, and if they can't help, they lay down beside you and listen." That's the kind of friend Pat was. When I broke my leg and I was home for 6 weeks, Pat called me every single day at lunch to check up on me and, of course, keep me up to date on all the gossip and what was going on at Fairk. You will probably hear lots of stories today about different things that happened at Fairk and fun things that we shared, but it was a wonderful experience. One of my favorite teacher stories was when Pat, we teamed together. I was the media director, and so I'd work with all the different classrooms, and we were going to teach folktales. So most teachers would probably just read the book Stone Soup, but not Pat. She decided that to really have the effect, we would act out the story, and we would make our own stone soup. So as the kids added vegetables to the soup, oh my gosh, Pat would come up with this tale of how the stone came from my great-great-grandmother in Italy, and it was picked up on the road. She just went on, and the kids loved it. When actually, I was always running late, and I just picked up a stone as I was walking into Fairk. But we had a lot of fun. I don't think we met any of our language arts standards, but again, we sure had a ton of fun. And there really was no difference between adult Pat and teacher Mrs. Rice. Her enthusiasm and her clever way with words just bubbled over wherever she went. I believe God had a plan when he put us all together at Fairk Education Center in the early 90s. As the media director, I had the opportunity to work with all of these talented teachers, and I learned that these women shared a common goal. We wanted to make a difference in our students' lives. We wanted to help them develop critical thinking skills and express their creativity. However dedicated our staff was, though, not everyone always agreed on the best route to take to teach our students. And this caused a bit of discord and a lot of behind-the-scenes gossip and rumor. It was getting pretty bad when Barb Rhodes approached me with the idea of having a Bible study after school at her house. Nothing formal, just a gathering of teachers to talk about our faith and how we could take that back to school and make our place a kinder environment. There's a line that said, "Words spoken set life in motion." God's plan is working again, and our Bible study was born. This was also the moment Pat and I became more than colleagues, but best friends. How many best friends did Pat have? I know. Wait a minute. Believe it or not, over the years we have met once a month to discuss various aspects of the Bible or read a book about a spiritual theme. However, the most important reason for getting together is to pray for one another. We have supported each other through some dark times, and we have celebrated some wonderful milestones. Pat loved our Bible buddy get-togethers because we were very unique. Some of us were Catholic, some Lutheran, Methodist, and we had different takes on things, but we all had the common goal, a common belief and faith in Jesus. Our little Bible study has been going on now strong for over 30 years. We get together once a month. When I saw Pat on the last days of her life and she asked me to speak, I was humbled and a bit nervous. How could I possibly express my emotions and speak as eloquently as Pat would? And then I remembered, Pat always spoke from the heart, and she cherished our friendship. I am so grateful to have been a part of Pat's life. And when you have a quiet moment today or later and time to reflect, I'll give you one last word. God gave us friends so we never need to walk alone.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Debbie Facius. I'm one of the secretaries here. Pat and I have been friends for over 30 years. She was quite a remarkable lady, as you all know. She was the best dressed lady I have ever known. We shared a love of purses, perfume, but most of all, General Hospital. And I know Pat's up there watching now. Pat took such pride in so many things that she did. Her most special role was Mimi. Before I started in the video room, we would sit over there in that section, and every Sunday she'd pull out her phone so I could see what Cameron, Kennedy, Nathan, and Emmy were doing. So I watched you grow up through Pat every Sunday. Pat got me to work at the garage sale and spaghetti dinner. And the garage sale, as people that go here, it's well known that I hated the garage sale. And our first garage sale together, Pat said, ooh, she goes, I don't think I've ever heard that many choice words come out of one person's mouth before, but she did get used to it. And when Alan and I got married, Pat knew my culinary skills because she bought me a cookbook that said, I will cook when pigs fly. So that gives you kind of a glimpse into what I can do. My most special moment, we would do ladies' night out in Frankfurt every year. And we were in one store, and it was this and that, and Pat knew the owner. And the one night we were there, Nancy said to Pat, oh, you brought your daughter with. And I looked around because I knew Kathleen wasn't there, and I knew Kathy wasn't there. So it kind of became a special thing. So I would always call her Mommy. And when I knew she was shopping, I would say, Mommy, you need to buy me something. When Alan and I went to Lightways to say goodbye, when we left, I kissed Pat on the forehead and I said, I love you, Mommy. And she whispered, you remember that? It's something I'll never forget. So, Mommy, I love you and I miss you.
Thank you to everyone that is here today. And a special thank you to everyone that has played a special role with speaking and playing music to help honor my mom today. My mom felt that life was worth celebrating. She didn't want a funeral or a wake. She wanted all of us to gather and smile and laugh. The speeches today highlighted how teaching was such a big part of her life and how important this church is and all of its members were to her. This church is the best place for her memorial because her spirit lives here. If she was still here today, she would have done whatever it took to de-decorate the church on Monday and add a few more highlights to the library. She was the type of person that would never take a sick day. If you had to crawl to get to work, then you crawl. She was always there to help. In fact, if she was still here, she would have written this speech for me like she did all my other papers when I was growing up. She loved her friend groups and she loved her family. Above all, she loved to be around kids. She was instrumental in the upbringing of all her grandchildren. I would come home from work and just find her marching around the table, singing the same Thomas the Train song for the 100th time that day. She just had so much energy, and she was just a fun person to be around. She was a passionate teacher and couldn't stay away from her friends at school. She continued to sub just to spend more time around the kids and her friends. She was still subbing when she got the call about her blood test results that would eventually lead to her first battle with pancreatic cancer. After a long fight, she was one of the 7% of survivors, and she beat that cancer for many years. She far outlived other patients that underwent a Whipple surgery. You wouldn't think that a small, petite, 5'2" frame would become the greatest example of inner strength, but I really started to notice her resolve during her recovery. These last few years brought me very close to my mom. We would talk every single day, and I even spent many holidays at Silver Cross Hospital, and she felt that the turkey wrap with chips for $6.50 at Silver Cross Cafeteria was one of the best deals in town. ER nurses were always amazed when they started to read through her files. Her nurses always loved her because she was such a thoughtful and cooperative patient. She treated everyone with such class and was always so kind to everyone. In the end, the doctors really struggled to diagnose the most recent complications because there just isn't any data about patients that survive as long as she did. She was in a class of her own because she was a remarkable woman, friend, and mom to me. In these last few years, my mom reached sainthood status for me. Her life is a beacon of light to remind me to appreciate the opportunity to experience life and the time we are given. It was her will to live that I would like to highlight with my speech today. I was in the unique position to see how these last few years were a crucible. She was tested over and over again. It was as if life was asking her, do you still have the strength to endure? What if I do this to you now? How about I add in this complication? What if I take this away too? How about now? How about now? How about a few more days of fasting in a hospital when you're only 74 pounds and can't put on any weight? It was always a struggle to get blood because her veins just didn't have pressure in them anymore. This condition would go on, and yet she never complained. She didn't want to be in hospital rooms, but she would reluctantly go when I continually insisted. She would just say, I just hope one of these times I can catch a break. Through all of this, I marveled at her strength and her determination to press on. There were times she was close to giving up, but she would always tell me the next day, I was thinking about it, and I'm going to fight. I think I would have given up long before if I was ever tested in such a way. So the question is, what kept her going? What was her drive? It was the thought of having one more day with her good friends, one more sermon at church, one more bagel with her Panera group, one more book club, one more Halloween party, one more breakfast after church with Ken, one more family party where she could put out some paper plates and napkins that she had bought for the special occasion and share some moments to play cards with her family. She was always so determined to keep pushing herself, and I tried to explain to her she would often go too far. When she canceled our plans for the 4th of July, I went to lay eyes on her on July 5th in the early morning. I was concerned for her, and I had to coerce her into going to the ER. She would always refuse. And on this particular day, she would not leave until we moved some furniture and she made the bed. She was just saying, geez, I'm having a hard time getting around today. I had to physically block her from trying to assist with these tasks. I would soon discover that she was on day 3 of a massive heart attack, and even though she thought she could just walk it off at home, she needed immediate surgery. The surgery was partially successful, but she would just need to press on with the blockages that they could not address because her body was just too weak. She was the patient that always did what the doctors recommended. Slowly, all of the things that brought her comfort were removed from her diet, and yet she persisted. I finally got to see what it was like when her pain levels were at a 10. Pat Rice gave life every single ounce of energy that she had. She reminded me many times that she was not afraid to die. The biggest tragedy to her was the sense of loss that her friends and family would have to bear. She was always more concerned for everyone else. Even when she was in hospice, she was apologizing to my son Nathan that she couldn't make it to his NHS induction that night. And when my son arrived, she had already made out a card and had a gift card to Cane's because that's who she was. To the very end, she was there to be an example of love, kindness, and generosity. If you want to connect with my mom's spirit, I recommend that you take a second look at the napkins that you have at your party and make sure they're festive. Don't walk on floors that were just cleaned. Turn lights off when you leave a room. Only go out when you have a good coupon. You should put down the ordinary sweater and get the colorful one that has all the sparkly stuff on it. Try marching through the streets of Chicago playing a sparkly accordion that's more than half the size of your body in a parade. You should also just try to make a song out of ordinary moments and just have fun singing it. I find myself breaking into songs about the most random things, just like you're becoming one of your parents in a Progressive commercial, and I just laugh because I've inherited that trait from her. I asked her what values that she wanted me to pass on to my kids, and after contemplating for some time, she replied, "Be kind and surround yourself with good friends." I tried my best to do right by my mom. Because I owe everything to her and my dad. I know that I'm a lucky person because I'm someone that will continue to cry about the loss of my mom for the rest of my life. If you missed out on the opportunity to share with Pat, it's your loss. Because she was an amazing person, and she had an amazing spirit. And there isn't a day that goes by where I don't miss her. She left us with a smile on her face saying nothing but thank you, and I love you, and then repeating those phrases. She thanked my dad for being good to her for 48 years of marriage, and she was gleaming with hope that she would be able to see her parents again. She repeatedly told me I had such wonderful parents. She wanted to find her friend Arletty and many other good friends she lost along the way so they could go out for wine and ice cream in heaven. She could have turned very cold and bitter as her time drew near, but she radiated warm love, dignity, grace, beauty, and gratitude. She refused to let the paramedics take her in a stretcher until she had the opportunity to change into something nicer than the clothes she was in. She left us surrounded by her family with Kathleen, Sean, Ken, Kathy, and me by her side as she peacefully took her last breath. She wanted to be cremated with her pillow and had a wonderful sense of humor all the way to the end. I would like to end this speech with her token phrase, and these words ended up becoming her very last. Ciao, ciao, for now.
Whoa. Our next song is Eagle's Wings with Mike and Macy.
You who dwell in the shelter
So I was wondering if Mark and maybe Debbie and the three of you are you busy Sunday? Maybe you could just, we could do like a 5-point sermon about the meaning of life, because you could say it a lot better than I could. And anyway, you're probably going, it says meditation, you're probably wondering, how long is he going to talk? Not very long. You've said it all. If there's one thing that fuels my fire every day, it's knowing people like you and people like Pat. Someone asked me, Don, where do you find God? And I said, I don't look very far, because at this moment, God lives right here. It's the Spirit inside this room. It's in the words of friendship, the things that you said, and people like Pat. That's where God comes alive. And we've had this a lot of fun the past few weeks with little Jesus here. You know, this little Jesus. Peggy gave me about 800 of these, and I have about 650 left. And that's, to me, every day. I wake up and turn the key to this place, and I just want to see a little bit of Jesus. And I see a little bit of Jesus today, because that's where he comes alive. And I saw that in Pat beginning 46 years ago, when you dared to open the door of the church and come here and be a part of our church family. And every day I come here, I take a walk out back, and I just stand there and have spiritual coffee with my mom and dad, my grandparents, my late wife, my late brother, and I think about all those people. I think of Peggy's late husband, and I realize that when somebody leaves us, and today we're talking about Pat, something doesn't. And all the stuff you talked about, that's in the heart and soul of each one of us. And believe me, you will hear her voice and see her face and be nudged by her spirit in ways that you never thought possible. And that's the gift that we celebrate today. It's an absolute honor to have you here. And Pat loved communion. I have given communion to Pat in so many times and places over the past 46 years, I can't even count it. Because to me, communion is about coming together. It's not about being Lutheran or Catholic or religious or not religious. Communion is the time to just celebrate the gift of life that God gives each one of us. And so after the blessing, Alan will invite you forward. You can stand or kneel at the altar, and there's some non-alcoholic drinks in the tray if you can't drink wine. But most of all, please know that you are welcome, because this altar is somehow a symbolic of the Spirit that brings us together. Let us continue with a moment of silence. Lord, thank you for this time and this place. Thank you for Pat, her family, and her friends, and the Spirit that embraces us today. On the night he was betrayed, our Lord Jesus took the bread, he blessed it, and he broke it, and he gave it to his disciples and said, "Take and eat. This is my body which is given for you. Do this for the remembrance of me." And then after supper, Jesus took the cup and blessed it and said, "Take and drink. This cup is a new covenant in my blood, shed for you and for all people for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you drink it, for the remembrance of me." Let us share the Our Father together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Alan will invite you forward.
I'm going to start with this section first. You go to each side of the rail, and when you get completed with that, then I'll come over here and we'll rotate around. Family first, either side, please.
Though I may speak with bravest heart and have the gift to all inspire, but have not love, my words are vain,
Now may the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ give you strength, now and forever. Amen. I heard Pat's voice saying, don't you dare forget the people in the video room and the musicians to give communion to. So, Alan is going to read one of our favorite poems entitled, How Do You Live Your Dash? Alan, thank you.
It is my honor today to read this poem entitled The Dash, honoring and celebrating Pat's life. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of birth. He spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth, and now only those who love her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For we never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real and always try to understand the way other people feel. And be less quick to anger and show appreciation more and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read and your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? Pat, you can be very proud of your dash. We love you and we will miss you, but you will forever be in our hearts.
Thank you, Alan. Our closing hymn is going to be Precious Lord Gospel style, but before we conclude our service, Ken, would you please have your thank yous? Also, he wants you to make sure you come to lunch afterwards. He made about 300 reservations at Papa Joe's.
Don told me I had to be short. So, first of all, I want to thank everyone for coming today. This is what Pat wanted. She wanted this to be a celebration of her life, and we're so proud of her and all of you for doing the time, taking the time to be here today. This is greatly appreciated. Also want to thank a special thanks to Kim Jackowitz, one of her teachers whose husband had pancreatic cancer. And when we were first diagnosed about 10 years ago, Kim was the one that Pat consulted concerning a surgeon. And Kim recommended Dr. Gamagami, and wow, 10 years later, as our oncologist says, we're in uncharted territory for pancreatic cancer. Also want to thank Bill Colgan. I know he's watching today from Hawaii. He dedicated this and donated this rocker honoring Pat for her work in the library. The library was very important to Pat, and I know that Susan and Nancy will do a good job of continuing it. It's very important to me also because I have been reading some books on heaven from this library, and it has been very, very helpful to me. few years ago, my grandson Nathan, would you hold up your hand? And said, Papa, what's your favorite day of the week? And I told him, I said, that's easy, it's Sunday. I said, about 46 years ago, Mimi and I started coming here, and it has been a great, great experience. Being led at that time by a gentleman by the name of Don Borling, and he's still here today, and he has been a rock for us. I mean, it's just, and I know everybody in this church feels the same way, that he has been so much of a helping hand, not only a helping hand, but as a member and a friend. So again, we want to thank you, and thank you, Don, for all you've done for us in these trying times. It has been so helpful to have you by our side. We appreciate it very much. Did I go too long?
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right.
Number 773, 773, Precious Lord. Love the way you play that, Mike. So, Pat, we commend you to God's eternal care. Earth to earth and ashes to ashes and dust to dust. May the Lord always bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you everlasting peace. And to each one of you, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine on you, be gracious to you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Colonial Chapel, my church.
Well, pretty much Ken and Mark thanked everybody. We want to thank you, Pastor, for being a good pastor to the family for many years. Appreciate that. A feel a little intimidated with all these teachers around, but we want to thank them and the church family for coming here and celebrating Pat's life is greatly appreciated. Want to thank Mike, Kathy, Macy, for their ministry of music and that. You guys did a wonderful job. We appreciate that. But most importantly, everyone taking their precious time to celebrate her life means a lot. So that it doesn't end here. We're going to continue to Papa Joe's, familiar restaurant with the church and that. We're going to share some good food there and fellowship. But they like to see everyone continue over there and end the day over there with some good warm food and good drink and friends and family. So at this time, I'm gonna pass out the address to everyone. If you're not sure of where it's at, I can do that. And then make sure you take a memorial card if you didn't get one on your way in. But this does conclude the services. We're gonna have Pastor lead the family out, and then everyone else can follow the family. Thank you and God bless.